I'm here in warehouse number 5 at Glengoyne. This is one of the racked warehouses, but today we are going to get an exclusive behind the scenes tours of both the racked and the Dunnage warehouses, and then, if we're really lucky as well, we're going to see a few first fill butts getting filled at the filling store as well. This is not something you can get on any tour, so this is pretty special. Come with me and find out what the warehouses at Glengoyne have got to offer.
So my name's Gregg. I am part of the warehouse team here at the distillery. I've worked here down the road for about 3 years, but I've actually been with the company for about 6. I was previously a guide across the road doing the tours and stuff, and I developed my passion for whisky through that, and I ended up just finding myself down here 3 years ago, and I've been loving it ever since.
Amazing. There's a lot of casks.
Yes.
How many are we talking about?
I think roughly on site just now, I wouldn't quote me 100% on it, but we're in the region of probably just over 15,000 casks or so just now. So we're pretty much at capacity for the racks and the dunnage, so it's not really going to change much higher than that.
Amazing. And what have we got in this rack warehouse today?
So in here, warehouse number 5, the rack warehouse, we have primarily just barrels and hogsheads inside of here. A whole range of different ages, like I said, from probably the youngest I've seen kind of kicking about here just now is about 2006 Glengoyne. We've got everything right up until 2023, 2024. Our sister distillery, Rosebank, is also stored partially in here as well. So that was only 2023, they started back up last summer. And there's everything from when they first started up until probably about 4 or 5 months ago to when we were filling it here on the site. There's a few other distilleries here. There's some King's Barnes casks that you might spot up in the racks as well. There's a couple of other brands as well, but that's just stuff that we were doing a favour for them, they were doing a favour for us too. But yeah, primarily just Glengoyne and Rosebank inside of here.
Amazing. So here we are in warehouse 8, a more traditional Dunnage style warehouse, but this is probably the nicest looking Dunnage warehouse I've ever been in.
We've put a lot of effort into it. Warehouse number 8 we actually emptied 3 years ago for a roof replacement. You'll probably see behind us there, it's looking nice and spooky and clean. So about 3 years ago the roof came off, which meant everything in here had to come out. Some of it was relocated on site to different warehouses and some of it was relocated off site. Once the work was completed, it was about the start of 2022, we started filling it back up again, just section by section here. So a lot of it is kind of first fill butts you see over there, and some of it here is barrels from Rosebank. So it's almost 50-50 Glengoyne and Rosebank. So everything in here, from where we're pretty much standing in section 3 and down, is actually 2023 Rosebank. So Rosebank started up about July, summertime last year. So what you're actually standing next to just now is almost the first cask of that new Rosebank era. So we spent probably 2 years filling it, and then it was probably before I actually joined down the road, it was about 1.5 years into being emptied as well. So it was a long process, but as you can kind of see looking around, it's pretty rewarding. It's pretty satisfying to look at a Dunnage which is just completely full.
Looks great. I mean, not only as I said is it completely full, but as I said it's looking really smart as well. But despite having new roof and everything, you still got all of those traditional like Dunnage smells. Like you know, as soon as you walk through the door, you're like, oh, this is a whiskey warehouse.
Yeah, it's all pretty much, it's still the same way. You'll see just the floor there, the way we build it's not changed since they emptied it. Wooden sticks down, we're making sure everything's all nice and even. Second load on, barrels and hogsheads here, we'll only start them 3 high in the Dunnage, mainly health and safety reasons. You know, I'm tall, but I'm not tall enough to reach for a 4 high. You see behind us here, butts and puncheons will always be 2 high. Again, that's just a health and safety thing. We don't want to put 3 high. They are very heavy. I don't know if you've ever tried to roll one yourself. No. I wouldn't think it'd be safe to put them up that high as well. Again, bit different to the racks. We have to sample these just as much as the ones down the road, but it can be a little bit more awkward if we're trying to sample, for instance, this one here, we're going to need to move that one. It's the exact same way that if we need to get this cask out, then that whole row has to come off. Take those casks out and rearrange it. So it's not as easy. It does look a lot nicer. It's the more traditional way of doing it, but it does provide a lot more kind of manual handling and a lot more labour intensive. Could mean possible, you know, pinch points or health and safety things. So as much as it's nice and it's aesthetic to look at, it can be a lot harder, but the payoff and the reward of turning around and letting to look at your nice filled Dunnage is pretty nice as well.
I guess when you've got an older building like this, you know, A, you don't want to get rid of it, and B, you know, you can't really build the racking very high anyway. So, yeah, personally, you know, I appreciate the health and safety part, but I think, you know, who doesn't love a Dunnage warehouse? I said, especially the kind of the sights, the smells when you walk in. It's fantastic. I mean, the smell's obviously incredible, and people love the look and feel. Do you actually think there's a difference in terms of how whiskey matures in a Dunnage warehouse versus a racked or even palletized?
I wouldn't say it'll influence anything too much. You know, Dunnage are always brick built, which, you know, always allows for a relatively cool atmosphere. You'll come in here on a warm summer's day, it's like a big fridge. Racking's almost the same. It doesn't really matter stacking them so many high. There's probably ancient myths or whatever that people think that the higher you go, the less it's going to evaporate. It's all going to be about the same. You'll lose about 2 to 3% of a cask per year on average. You know, these two casks were next to each other, been filled in the same day, they're part of the same fill, and it was the same spirit. But if we open them up just now, or in 10 years' time, we took 2 glasses out, they're going to look completely different. They're going to smell completely different. It's the exact same with the racking as well. There's not going to be a difference in flavour or whatever just because they're stored in a different way. They're all still stored bung up, faced the same way for X amount of years. It's not going to influence it too much.
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to try a few sister casks, literally, as I said, filled same day, kept next to each other, 10, 12 years later on, totally different. And what is it, right? Chance, luck.
Yeah, it blows your mind.
Obviously, the warehouse is where the whiskey gets stored after it's been filled and slumbers for many years until it's ready for bottling and drinking. But whilst I think many of you have seen inside a warehouse, whether it's been one of our videos or someone else's, what you don't see every day is a cask actually getting filled. Here we are in the filling store, and behind us, this is where the magic happens. We've got some big old tanks, a bunch of machinery, and other technical terms that are beyond my simple mind. Gregg, tell me what's happening here.
So you see up in the still house, the spirit safe, the middle bowl, everything that comes through there is what goes into the big tank behind you, tank number 1. So everything Glengoyne, everything you've ever had, you know, bottle-wise, is all probably passed through that tank behind you there. What Chloe behind me there is showing just now is she's just filling some fresh sherry butts that we got delivered. So we're doing about 50 of those today. We're getting quite near the end of the filling. But as you can see, it's quite a simple process. It's almost like she's filling her car up with petrol at the station. All she's really doing is just dragging it, getting it through the bump hole. She'll flick the switch up, and what that will do is it will send a message to the computer, and that's through a system we call flow log. And it basically just tracks the amount of litres that's put in at the cask. That will send a message to the computer behind you there in the filling store office. That's how we keep track of everything. So that'll log, you know, what type of cask that we're filling that spirit into, the spirit percentage, all the attributes that go along with that charge from that day are all logged on the computer. And then once we've done that, they'll roll them into position, but you might also spy there's a wee barcode on the cask. That barcode, when we go to scan that later on in the Dunnage or the racking that'll be in earlier on today, when we scan that, that will tell us all the information that I've just described to you there that is stored on the computer. So in 10 or 15 years' time, if we need to send that cask out, we get the request form through to go and get it for bottling. We can just look up in the computer, that'll tell us where it is in the warehouse. We'll go find that barcode and we'll scan it and we'll take it out. So yeah, we'll fill barrels, hogsheads and puncheons all here on site behind us there, but just today it's a butt filling.
Amazing. And then we've got that red tank as well behind.
Yeah, so once it's all came down at tank number 1, we'll dilute it with water. Our filling percentage is about 63.5%. All the water comes from that red tank. That red tank was actually the original tank that we kept the spirit in years ago. It's part of the old filling store that survived. So all that's sitting in that just now, it's technically classed as tank 3. but that is just full of water. And we'll send that water through that really complex system of pipes you might see behind you there up, and that's what we dilute the spirit with.
Amazing, there we go. An explanation far better than I could ever manage. Greg, thank you so much for explaining that, especially to my simple mind. I know so much more about the filling process of whiskey now that I never knew before. That has been fantastic. Behind the scenes tour of the filling store and the warehouses, both Racked and Dunnage here at Glengoyne. Not something you can see every day. So hopefully a little bit special for you. Thank you so much, Greg. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Cheers. Thank
Great
you.
to meet you.
Cheers. Good to meet you too.
That's been another episode of the Enthusiast series here at the Whiskey Baron. Hope you enjoyed us. See us next time.